34. So we are still in the apocryphal or false, fake, as with the current wording, messages. So let's see this one. So number 34, which is signed by Bossuet, Alfred de Marignac. So Bossuet is a quite known poet, writer in France. So let's see what the communication is saying. How beautiful nature is, how prudent providence is in its foresight. Oh, nice sentence to start, isn't it? But your blindness, your human passions, keep you from acquiring patience in God's prudence and goodness. Okay, so we can also not say it's something false. We still have human patience. There are a lot on the earth, to a higher or lesser degree, depending on each individual's level of progress. But nothing really wrong in such sentence. Keep us from acquiring patience in God's prudence and goodness. So that's already a little bit strange, isn't it? Why should we acquire patience in God's prudence and goodness? I don't know what the meaning of the word patience is in English, but okay, we have to acquire patience. It's a virtue to acquire patience. But why should we acquire patience in God's prudence and goodness? We know that God exists. We know also the attributes of God, as per the first part of the Spirit's book. We know that He is infinite in all His attributes, including the goodness and the prudence, of course. But I don't understand very clearly why we should acquire patience in knowing this. For me, it's not very clear. I don't. Let me open the French one to see whether in French it's the same. Just a second.
It is the same.
It is.
It's also patience, yeah. Mais
So
votre
in
aveuglement
French,
et
I
vos
don't
passions humaines
understand.
empêchent de prendre patience à la prudence et la bonté de Dieu.
Up 34. We are at the end already, 34. So, prendre patience en prenant ce mot. Okay, so here the meaning is already a little bit, how to say, it's not clear. Okay, so first small flag raising. You whine at the least bit of a problem, at the least delay in your plans. Okay, that's true. I mean, when we are lacking patience, okay, the first thing which, how to say, jeopardizes us, we have a tendency to claim, okay? So impatient vacillators, be assured that nothing happens without a foreseen reason and without premeditation for the benefit of all people. Okay. Okay, so again, shouting on our impatience, yeah? And also the fact that we are vacillator means in doubt about God, its infinite mercy, and so on. Okay. Can also be understood, albeit, okay, nothing happens without a foreseen reason. Yes, these are the plans of God, the plans of nature, and without premeditation for the benefits of all people. Okay, but you see, the patience is something individual. It's according to the free will. You see, so it's the subject is a little bit different than what the Spirit is mentioning here. O men of hypocritical fear, the reason for such delays is the need to reduce to nothing your prediction of bad years for your harvests. What do you think about this, Liz?
I think when it says, patience in God's prudence and goodness, I think it's acceptance, because further down it says nothing happens without a foreseen reason. And I can give an example there, because like when you're in traffic, most people, when they get behind a steering wheel, they grow horns, and they're always impatient. But you also have to get the bigger picture. Be grateful when you're stuck behind something slow, because a mile down the road, you could have a head-on collision. We don't know the big picture. So people are always wanting to forge their own paths, forgetting that, some things are done there for our benefit.
Totally true, Liz. Nevertheless, the fact that in such moments you are shouting and getting anger and impatient, or you are staying calmly in awaiting the jam to disappear, this is purely according to everyone, to our free will, isn't it? The way we react to it is purely personal. But okay, let's continue to see. Prediction of bad year for your harvest. Okay, bon. God inspires persons with concern about the future in order to lead them to foresight. See how great your resources are for resolving your purposefully aroused fears, which hide the most avid intentions, rather than providing prudence inspired with a sense of human kindness in favor of the poor. See the relationship between nations that will result. See how many transactions must be concluded, how many resources will contribute to remedy your fears. For, as you know, everything is linked together, great and small, will come to join in the work. Let me read it again in French. Well, okay, for me it's said in a complicated way, but the idea behind is very simple, isn't it? What is the idea behind? That we get concerned to be foresight, to take care about, live, think about the future and act now to preserve having the best future for humanity. By the way, it's not really what we are doing right now with the global warming and so on. I did not see a lot of reactions or enough reactions yet in order to reduce a little bit our consumption and the carbon emissions and whatsoever. Okay. It will come, but maybe only with a little bit more pain. Okay. And then the relations between nations and nations. Okay, we should reduce, taking the same example, we should reduce carbon. But yes, we should all reduce. And then the other one, yeah, but you started 2 centuries before me, so you should reduce more because I also have the right to develop my country to reach a comparable life levels than yours. So it's always discussing and negotiating with good arguments, by the way, but always saying, no, not me, the other one, isn't it? So it's true that the relationship between nations is only reflecting the people of the nations. A nation of selfish and pride people will be selfish and pride as well. So the society as a whole is only the sum of the individuals which compose this society. That's also something which is true. But okay, Elzoli, tell me.
Hey, good morning, people. Good morning, Charles, again. And then I took a note here the last time. It was we had some anomalous communication. So Jesus, oh Jesus. So we would start 34 chapter. But okay, we can repeat, no problem. But I want to say that we already finished.
We read this one already? No, I don't think
Yes,
so. We read the
did
one of Jesus
last
just
week.
above.
Yes.
Who has a good memory?
No, I untagged. I untagged always. I took notes always.
So just since we started reading it, let's go to the end.
You decide if you think that it's good that I read again the same text, of course, but
Yeah.
only for
No problem.
this.
Everything is linked together. Great and small will come to join in the work. Yes, for sure. But again, it may take some time. Then, don't you see in this movement a source of certain well-being for the hardest working class in the States, that truly interesting class that you, the omnipotent ones of the earth, regard as people you can shape as you wish, and who have been created for your own satisfaction? Oh, here he is a little bit, okay, to whom is he talking here? To everyone or only to the omnipotent class? That's not really, let me see where it is. Yes, it's not clear, you see. And he's, of course, what he says is I cannot, you know, when I see this, okay, what's the point? What does he want to say? Huh? He's blaming, he's putting something which are true, for which purpose? In order to make us feel guilty, or what's the point? What's the purpose of the message? Huh? Let's continue. Well, what happens after all that going and coming from one extreme to the other? It just so happens that once we have been well provided for, the weather often changes. The sun, obeying the designs of its creator, ripens your harvest in only a few days. God places abundance where your greed thinks only of scarcity, and in spite of you, the little people will be able to live. Without you even suspecting it, you have been unwittingly the cause of an era of abundance. I must admit, you know, I don't, okay, I understand a little bit English, but I don't understand what he said here. So give me again a second to try to understand better what he wrote in French. Maybe if you have some comments, please take this opportunity to do it.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Charles. For me, it is sounding a bit confusing as well, to be honest with you. I don't know about the others, but it is a bit confusing to me as well. And it is using kind of a language in a way that is kind of not very objective with the message.
You see, in spite of you, the little people will be able to live. Okay, so we don't need to do anything for the little people. Is this what we understand from it? You know? No, we should encourage, okay, the little people are not forgotten by God, that's sure. But we have to make such that there are no little people or people with scarcity of anything, isn't it? So you see, again, the message is not really in the direction what we are expecting. Christine.
Hi, everyone. Well, the paragraph before, we're talking about working class, and then down here we've got the little people. What does it mean, little people? Are we talking people in short stature, or are we talking about people who aren't able to live well on a daily basis? They have to.
In French, les profits des petits are the people which are simple, humble, the workers, the farmers, you know, the people, let's say, of not from the elite, not from the which are not rich and so on, poorer people. This is what is meant by these little people.
Yeah.
The people, because he's saying, you, the rich, are exploring the little people or the poor people. I don't know if it helps to understand much better, but Liz?
Yeah, hi. As Liz said, you know, it is quite complicated for, you know, the average person to understand. And as you said, that he was, you know, a writer, but it also says further on that this message wasn't actually from Bossuet. But it also says, you know, although the message is generally good, it could deceive persons who are not well versed in literature, because it's a flowery language that he's you know, describing everything in.
Yes, but it should at least be clear, you know, and it is not
It could
clear.
have been clearer, yeah.
Let's continue. Well, what happens after all? No, this we have seen. Nonetheless, it also just so happens, God sometimes permits it, that evil ones succeed in their avaricious projects. However, then it is a teaching that God wants to give everybody. It is human foresight that he wants to stimulate. It is the infinite order that reigns in nature and which people must imitate in order to meet events with courage so that they can bear them with resignation. Yes, it's again. We cannot say it's false, but why is he saying this here now? What is the message he wants to convey in what we have read since the beginning? For me, it's absolutely not clear. We have to have resignation, fine. But there are other ways to say it and to explain it. And let's terminate with the last paragraph. As for those who calculatedly take advantage of disasters, believe me, they shall be punished. God wants all beings to live. People should not tamper with necessity nor traffic in the superfluous, just in divine benefits, great in divine clemency, too good before our ingratitude. God's design are impenetrable. Bon, okay, so signature Bossuet, Alfred de Marignac. So again, it's good taking about justice and so on. So it's not really false, but what's the point? Huh? And let's see Kardec's comment. This communication assuredly contains nothing bad. It contains the same profound philosophical ideas and very prudent advice, which, as to identity, could deceive persons who are not well versed in literature. The medium who received it submitted it to examination by the Paris Spiritist Society, which unanimously declared that it could not be from Bossuet. When asked about it, Saint Louis responded. So Kardec and his colleagues from the Parisian Society, they clearly said that's not the style of Bossuet, not at all. And again, it's maybe in terms of poetry, style, language of Bossuet, but also in terms of, okay, give me a clear idea of what you want to say. When you see the good messages, as we have seen in the past subsection, you see that it's straight to the point, and it's generally a little bit shorter. It doesn't need to have a lot of blah blah and turning around and speaking about different things, and at the end you don't see the link between them. And let's see what. Yeah.
Charles, as well, with this sort of confusing language, it opens even more to ambiguity, so people can take from this message whatever they please, even kind of to the point to say, because there was a little phrase he said there that, you know, the little people are in the service of the other. So to kind of, you know, just remain exploiting one person over the other. It's kind of, you know, it's not direct, it's not very objective, and therefore people can take all sorts of conclusions, in my opinion.
You are totally right. I mean, just compare. We have now read one paragraph written by Kardec, okay? And compare with one of the paragraphs of the message we just read. The paragraph written by Kardec, I didn't even need to read the French one because I could understand it straightforward, because very clear, you know. And all this, as you told, blah, blah, saying a lot without saying too much, not being clear, is always very suspicious. It can be, of course, influence from the medium, whatever, but definitively it should be put apart, awaiting some clearer communications which are not so ambiguous and which do not leave too much room for interpretation. You are right, Liz. So Saint Louis, this communication is good in itself, but do not believe that Bossuet dictated it. A spirit who wrote it, perhaps somewhat under his inspiration, and signed the name of the great bishop so that it would be readily accepted. However, by its language, you must recognize the substitution. It is from the spirits whose name is placed after that of Bossuet. Okay, so he's saying, voilà, Alfred de Marignac is a spirit who wrote this communication, but he took the name of Bossuet, but definitively it was not Bossuet. Don't ask me who was Alfred de Marignac. I did not make researches about it. Maybe he's not known at all, because apparently he was not, albeit good, he was not so brilliant, and also if he really, as Saint Louis is confirming, made a fake, try to put the name of Bossuet instead or in front of his name, what's his intention? Is it to cheat us? You know, so we can have some doubts about his real intention. Voilà. When asked about its motive for doing this, the spirit declared, I had the desire to write something in order to be remembered by posterity. Seeing that I was weak, I wanted to join myself to the prestige of a great name. Okay, here, now, in Portuguese you said, a ficha caiu. I don't know if there is a translation in English for that. That is then when really the truth popped up, isn't it? But didn't you think that we would realize that it wasn't from Bossuet? The question to him, did you think that we would fall in this trap? Answer, who knows what could have actually happened? You could have been taken it. Others who were less enlightened would have accepted it. And this is a warning from all of us, you know, because spirits like that, there still are, and probably a lot. So it's again, we really should be careful, pay attention, analyze everything before accepting even a message which looks with good ideas, lack of clarity, putting a fake name, perhaps better to put it aside. As Erasto said, better to reject 9 good messages than to accept one which is not good, one apocryphal. And I think today we could change the ratio. Instead of 9-1, we could put 99-1. Of course, there would not be a lot remaining, But I think today we have him to be much more cautious than a century and a half ago. And Kardec finalizes. Actually, the ease with which some individuals accept everything that comes from the invisible world under the cover of a great name is what encourages deceptive spirits. We must set all our attention on unmasking the ploys of such spirits, but we can only do so with the help of experience acquired through serious study. That is why we constantly repeat, study before practicing, or that is the only way you will not acquire experience at your own expense. So again, you see, it's just one paragraph, but there is almost no comment to do. It's crystal clear, isn't it? And it's common sense and showing how we should apply this common sense, in particularly in these matters, dealing with spirits communications. Okay. Some question or comment from anyone? I mean, of course, Kardec could have put much more of these apocryphal messages, including we got some. You know that in 7 years ago we found 2,000 pages of Kardec's archives, and in this archive there was some folder with messages Kardec was just putting aside, awaiting for some confirmation. And when we take such messages and we read them, we understand perfectly why these messages have been put in a folder instead of having been used by Kardec to be published in the Spiritist magazine, or even in one of the book of the codification, because there are some other messages where you can see much clearly than in those. Those are, I'd say, ambiguous. But some, there is no ambiguity. It's really not good in the ideas, or unclear, or with contradictions, and trying to promote ideas and theories which are completely without any value, and so on. So here, I think he by purpose put some messages which are a little bit more complicated to detect that they are really apocryphal. So, and all this for the sake of the students we are, study before practicing. That's what we are doing.
And Charles, I find interesting what you said there, that he kept it all aside to await confirmation. It just shows how forward-thinking Kardec was, and how open-minded he was, but not with naivety. But he was very clear about the methods and about, the responsibilities, and to kind of, leave these things aside, and if in the future there was anything, no, throw it out. It's just such a thorough method that he had. It kind of, just impresses me even more.
Exactly. And when you look to this binder, everything is under compilation, transcription, for being put in this Projeto Kardec website from the Federal University of Juiz de Fora in Brazil. So, but I think out of the 2,000, there are maybe 200. So there is still a lot to go. But in these binders, there are two that called my attention, is previsions. One was called Prevision 1865, and the other one was called Previsions. And in the first one, you had the previsions he got until 1865, and in the second one, you had the previsions he got after. And this is exactly where Kardec was cautious. A prevision is only valid when you can verify that the prevision is happening or not, depending a lot on the prevision. And when we look to some of these previsions, there were previsions, in 1868, for instance, it was just 1 year before the war from the Prussians against Napoleon,
You mean
No
premonitions? Premonitions,
Yeah,
as in what is
foreseeing.
going to,
Yes.
foreseeing the future.
Previsão, né? Previsões,
Yeah,
previsão. Foreseeing.
premonition.
So messages talking about what will happen in the future.
Yeah.
This is what I mean by
Yeah.
prevision.
Because I think in English, Charles, provisions is something else. It's like you getting yourself organized and ready for something.
Yes, okay. So sorry for this.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. My English as well, you know, there are limitations. But Liz and if Christine is here, they can, you know, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, these would be premonitions.
Provisions is the stockpile of food that you have ready for the
That's
battle.
right. Thanks, Roger.
So in those, for instance, there were some talking about events that will happen, and talking about Italy, talking about a lot of things, but absolutely not corresponding to what happened afterwards. So it was clearly fake previsions or incorrect premonitions, sorry. So very good that Kardec put them aside in such a binder and did not publish. He was particularly cautious in those type of communication. And by the way, we have seen we should always be very suspicious with messages saying us this and that will happen in so and so many days and so on, because those are very hardly authentical. Some exceptionally it can happen, but very exceptionally. Elzoli?
I find curiosity, but know about Benigne Bossuet Jacques from Guillaume, the 12th April 1700. He was a bishop, teólogo, ele é teólogo. Och han hade, I would talk about things he would try to talk. And he was a French writer. And it was a French writer. I think this one, but the interesting because the name here is Alfred de Marignac, and maybe it's not the same one. Maybe it's another one, Bossuet. And then there's a biscuit. I think biscuit. I don't know in Portuguese a bispo, but I don't know in English the name biscuit.
I mean, we should make a research, but of course, the Marignac is a family name which is common in France. Okay, it's even the name of a city. But this Alfred de Marignac is probably passed without being noted in the history, because I just made a quick search now as well. There is no clear information, or you must search much more to be able to find a little bit something. Well, Bossuet, yes, Bossuet is much more known. When was he living, as you told? 1627, 1704. So it's from the 17th century.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Liz?
Yeah, hi. Going back to predictions, I have always been taught that if a spirit ever gives you a date on a prediction, to totally ignore it, because you cannot give dates. So it's a red flag. because the future is always open. So many criteria have to come together to form the future that it can go off on so many different tangents, and also because of human choice and, you know, human energy or whatever. So always be careful if you get something with a given date.
I think when there is a given date, it's raising the reasons to be cautious, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
even when there is no date, it's
yeah.
also good to be cautious, because
Yeah.
say this revelation of things of the future happens exceptionally, huh? And when it happens, it's for a very given purpose, you know. It's not something that is generalizing like this. And again, it's very interesting to see some of the things Kardec put in this binder happened in fact, huh? Did not happen when he was alive, but happened. But a lot of other, most of them was really just a spirit saying some fiction or whatever that had nothing to see with the prediction or with the reality.
Yeah.
We are building our future, okay? That's the truth. So we should always keep this in mind.
Yeah.
Well, so let's go to the last chapter, chapter 32. So it's a spirit glossary. So the first entry, so let me see, I think, did they, I don't know, maybe they, it's alphabetical in the French. I'm not sure they kept the alphabetical in English or the sequence as origin, but let's see. So adgenerate, from the Greek privative, a, and geinomai, to engender, non-engendered. Is it a word which is known in English? I don't think so. In French also, it's
No.
my word is writing as a word as a wrong word which is not in the dictionary. Roger, yes, you wanted to answer?
I don't recognize it.
So it's a variety of tangible apparitions, the state of a certain spirit who can momentarily take on the form of a living person to the point of producing a complete illusion. So it's a generate is a variety of apparition. Okay, and what is this characterizing this apparition? That he's totally materialized, you know, producing a complete illusion. That means there are some apparitions which only some incarnates which have the faculty to see better developed visions, they can see. And even if they put their hand in front of their eyes, they will continue seeing the apparition. Whilst here, in the adgenerate, in the materialization, it's different. You see, the word materialization did not exist yet at Kardec's time. It came only later on with William Crookes, or maybe even later. Okay, so it's really when the apparition gets tangible. So you can see it with your own eyes. All the people around you can see the same apparition. And if you put your hands in front of your eyes, you cannot see it anymore. So that's the difference between both. So it's like a real human being, but which is only temporary, which has not truly and integrally been generated. So that's the word agener. Okay. Elzoli?
I don't know if I could, if I should say, but it was a testimony about, testify about this, because the first time I saw an spirit, I couldn't believe that it was an spirit, because Avenue, Paulista Avenue, I don't know, somebody know there, Liz, yes, maybe, but then this this is many trees and the sun and a wonderful day. And I saw when I was yet, I was glad. Something happened. I was very glad. And I saw this man, no so how, no so, and he was with a hat, like a shaping in the hat. And he was, I remember very well, very elegant. And he came because, that place, just that place, high Gemur, when see a side, and another side too. It's a large avenue. Sorry, it was Alameda Santos, parallel of Paulista Avenue. And I saw it. He came, and he come with smiling. And he said, "Dude, so with the clothes. Clothes was from 18, about 18, maybe finish of 18th century, 19 maybe. And I see him now because he was a fine, I don't know what is this, but was a clock with it was very nice, and I saw something about it there because it was like shining in the sun under his no, I don't know, saying that time had fate, this cladder. Okay. And he came and he did it so. And so, good morning, Fraulein. Nee, good morning. I says, I don't remember, Senorita Charles, please. Huh? Says, Senorita
Miss?
in English.
Is
Miss,
Miss.
M-I-S-S?
Miss, gifted, so Miss. Good morning, Miss. Very, very good morning to you. I wish you will have the best day in this today, the best day of today. And of course, I was very surprised. I said, "Thank you," I said, "Thank you. The same to you." And he was, and me too. But this was in the morning. I came to my job. And I said, when I saw behind me vanish. So I swear he was real. So I see you now here. It's this happened to me. I never, and then later here in Sweden, Spirit's event, she said, "See, also, I have many spirits, spirits and spirits from that time." As he said, this, oh, see, we do describe it. Not Andre Luis, not, and they said, "This is this man." He said, "This is Oswaldo Cruz." It was a scientist, and in Brazilian, he was works very, very much with bacteria and with no dirty things, no dirty and things. He was a scientist in Brazil, Oswaldo Cruz. And then, it was.
Well, Zoli, the question now is, you perceived this man with a lot of details, as you just mentioned to us. The question is, was it not generate, or did you see him with, did you perceive him from your spirit? Did you see him with your eyes, or did you perceive it through your spirit?
I can't describe you because it was so real, because sometimes I see spirits, if God permits me, as is very, very uncommon, uncommon. And but it's not so clear, it's not so. Of course, he was near me, come to me, and said that to me it was a living person.
Okay.
Only I think
So
what's interesting, he have a clothes, not this type of clothes. Only this, but I wasn't spiritist. I was young, and I
so
can't.
it was
I can't answer to you. Sorry, I can't. But I saw
so
a real man, a real person.
okay, but there was nobody beside of you who saw the same, for instance.
No,
There is no
because I
element
was
in.
alone. I was alone because I said, oh, when I said Bako, I saw Bako back on me, behind me. No, it disappeared.
The thing is, we don't put in question, in doubt, the impression you had and the reality of this perception. But to answering to the question, I think we cannot answer. It was probably not not generate. It was probably because you have some mediumship allowing you to see spirits from time to time. So that is exactly the difference between the generate, where who everyone can see, and the seeing mediumship, where you can see the spirits without them to be materialized. Okay, Liz?
Now,
Yes.
yes. Thank you. I think it was what you say. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so this discussion actually reminds me of a series that I was watching this week. I don't know whether other people have seen it on iPlayer. It was produced last year, called Paranormal. And they were talking about the medium Helen Duncan, and she was the last medium around 1944 to actually be imprisoned, and she was from Scotland. And the reason she was imprisoned is a warning for us, because it was due to her gift. Now, firstly, it's very rare for people to actually be able to materialize, solid bodies now with ectoplasm. We use different medium material kind of now, more psychic. However, she was producing these. And for a very, very long time, she was very gifted, but she was also hated in her Scottish village of Callender and being called a witch. So, it was entitled the last witch of, UK to be imprisoned. But the reason she was imprisoned was because she was relaying to people who were sitting there with her messages from the war, and where boats had been blown up, and 700 or 800 sailors all died at one time. And of course, at this time, some of the sailors came through to her because, their mums were sitting with her and to give a message. But the trouble was, the British Secret Service had kept this top secret, that these ships had been blown up. And so she was actually giving the information, which obviously, people around them in Portsmouth could see that the parents were grieving. And so they'd said their son would die, but it was top secret. And because of that, MI6 and everybody had to get rid of her. Because they were planning the, landings in France. And of course, this could also come out as well. So we as mediums don't realize that when we're giving information from spirit, it could be, against top secret. And I don't want us going to prison to keep us quiet. She was in prison for 9 months.
It's totally understandable. Huh? So the mediums and the spiritists need to fulfill the laws of the countries they are living. Huh? Because if you infringe the law, you incur the risk like anyone who infringes the law. So of course it's a care that we always have to take. I don't discuss whether the laws are all fair and just and whatever, whether the top secret is justified or not to hide the truth to some people or whatsoever. That's not the question. It's simply, okay, if we infringe the law, we have the risk of the consequences associated to it. That's true.
Yeah, but Charles, you know, as a medium, if a spirit's coming through and saying, I want to get a message to my mum and the boat was blown up today and I'm at the bottom of the sea, the medium isn't to know that it was top secret, is she? She's just doing a genuine job and passing on a message, and it comes in hindsight when the messages get leaked out.
But
So,
somehow she went maybe a little bit too far. If it's just from one person to the other, without having some medias and journalists and people making advertisement out of it, it's one thing, But if she has been imprisoned, it's because
she
the
wasn't
things has been
advertising
known somehow,
herself. Yeah.
It
No,
should have stayed confidential.
she was very private. And these sittings, she came down to Portsmouth because she knew that, there were so many sailors, that were getting killed, and she was coming down to help the families, to be supportive.
Okay, so just to finalize with this question of generate, there is this word is used a lot in some particular context. Huh? It was after Kardec's, when Kardec was living still, because, and today it is still widely commented in some countries like Brazil, huh? Because there is an author, which was, Kardec never met him, but he had correspondence with him, which is called Jean-Baptiste Roustin. He was from Bordeaux, and he wrote a book also received by mediumship, which was stating that Jesus was an unregenerate. So you see the consequences. He said Jesus had no physical body like you and me. Jesus had a kind of a materialized body. During 30 and some years, he was living on earth. So Kardec at that time, he reacted to it. He said, this looks to me very improbable, because it would mean that Jesus has been a fake. That Jesus has had the appearance of someone real and he wasn't. So that somehow Jesus had a kind of a mask or was hiding something. And Kardec said, this is not in line with the character of Jesus. And in France, when this story came back in the early 1880s, when Jean-Baptiste Roustin died in 1879, and his followers tried to promote again this theory and so on, there were some strong answers from Gabriel Deland, from others, saying, look, now we have crooks, we have seen that how complicated it is to have materialization phenomenon through the ectoplasm and so on. So having 33 years a materialized body, where are the mediums giving the ectoplasm? How can it be permanent so long, over 33 years? And they were clearly demonstrating, based on the facts and the observation, that this theory, on top of what Kardec said, that Jesus came not to be a fake, but to be real, did not make sense. But still today, you have some people in Brazil, amongst others, which are in favor of this theory. Well, this just to tell you that this word "agenerate" is quite extensively used in this debate still today. But in France, Jean-Baptiste Roustin got completely forgotten. His books have never been republished again. There was only a first edition, and nobody knows who it is. So the answer of Delan and so on was enabled to close the polemics around it. Okay, so it's about the end of our time. I see Pablo is here. I don't see. Will you take over the final vibrations, Pablo?
Yes, I can do it today.
Okay, so I hand over to you. Let's go.
So, my friends, as we come to the ending of this enlightening study, let's now focus on the examples of our Master Jesus with charity, as we invite you to join the sharing of good vibrations, good thoughts, good intentions towards this planet as a whole, towards our brothers and sisters everywhere that are in all sorts of need. So let us picture and share love with everyone in war zones, in hospitals, in hospices, the ones feeling lonely, abandoned, hopeless. Let us share light, hope, love. Our Master Jesus, wherever he went, would always share love and hope. So let's try to mirror him, not only now, but in our daily lives, as we see our planet suffering, our brothers and sisters suffering. Let's not be blind to it. So let's embrace our planet and try to heal it the best we can. By now, let's do it with good and bright thoughts. Let's share love. Let's share hope. So be it.
Amen.
Thank you, Pablo. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good
Have a
week
good weekend, everyone.
and see you soon again.
Yeah.
Bye.